The morning begins in a quiet neighborhood in Mexico. Inside a modest, warmly lit kitchen, a grandmother stands at the counter, her hands pressing small balls of dough into tortillas with the effortless rhythm of a task performed for decades. Beside her, a daughter is carefully preparing fresh salsa, the sharp scent of roasted tomatoes and jalapenos filling the air. A child in a crisp school uniform darts across the room, frantically searching for a missing shoe. Outside in the small courtyard, a father adjusts the engine belt of an old car before heading to work, barely looking up as an uncle walks through the front gate, opening the door without needing to knock. If you look closely at the dining table, you will notice something specific. There are far more chairs tucked under the wood than there are people living inside the house. Because in Mexico, relatives can arrive at any moment. There are no festivals today, no mariachi, no colorful dresses filling the streets. It is simply a family beginning an ordinary day. Yet, within this incredibly normal, quiet moment, a profound truth about Mexico reveals itself. In many parts of the world, growing up is synonymous with leaving the family behind to build an independent life. But in Mexico, while an individual may live independently, they rarely, if ever, truly detach from their family. Grandparents, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, and distant cousins form a tightly woven, inescapable network that remains actively present through every single stage of life. Family is the place people return to when they are celebrating a triumph. And crucially, family is the very first place they turn to when life becomes unimaginably difficult. To truly understand Mexican culture, we must understand why family is not merely a part of life. It is the very heart of it. In Mexico, the word family rarely refers only to the parents and children living under a single roof. It naturally extends outward, stretching across multiple generations and sprawling branches of relatives. Here, grandparents do not just occasionally visit. They often act as a second set of parents. Aunts and uncles are deeply, directly involved in the daily upbringing of young children. Cousins frequently grow up so closely intertwined that they function more like siblings. Even those outside of blood relations are brought into the fold. Through the deeply respected Catholic tradition of godparents, padrinos, and madrinas, close friends become officially bound to the family, accepting a lifelong responsibility to guide and support a child. This does not mean that every Mexican family looks or acts exactly the same. The daily routines of families navigating the bustling, hypermodern streets of Mexico City look very different from those in the vibrant, artistic neighborhoods of Oaxaca, the industrial centers of Monterrey, or the quiet, agricultural towns of the countryside. But across all these different realities, one core belief remains widely shared. An individual does not exist completely apart from the people who raised them. This concept is rooted in deep, overlapping layers of history. Long before the Spanish arrived, indigenous communities placed an immense value on collective responsibility, the unbreakable link between generations, and a profound reverence for ancestors. Later, the Catholic traditions introduced by Spain further cemented these ideals, placing a heavy emphasis on marriage, religious family rituals, the godparent system, and holidays celebrated exclusively with relatives. Over centuries, these influences merged to create a culture where the family evolved into the most vital support system a person could ever have. When a child is born, the entire extended family steps in to help raise them. When two people marry, it is not just the union of a couple, but the permanent linking of two massive family networks. And when someone loses a job, falls deeply ill, or faces a sudden crisis, they do not look to institutions or the government first. They look to their relatives. The Mexican family does not just offer emotional affection. It provides concrete stability, a deep sense of mutual obligation, and an unparalleled safety net. In Mexico, family is not simply the home you live in. It is the network of people who carry life with you. To see the true face of the Mexican family, we do not need to look at holidays. We only need to observe the rituals of an ordinary day. It is visible in the early hours, as a grandmother prepares fresh tortillas, hot tamales, or a steaming pot of café de olla flavored with cinnamon and piloncillo. It is there as parents rush off to demanding jobs, leaving children to be walked to school by older siblings or watchful grandparents. It is present in the middle of the afternoon, when a cousin unexpectedly drops by just to deliver a plate of food, borrow a tool, or stand in the doorway chatting for 10 minutes. These actions are small, often mundane, but they are the constant, quiet proof that family is always present. But perhaps the most vivid display of this connection happens around the table. In Mexico, the focus of a great meal is not solely on the food being served. It is about who has been invited to pull up a chair. A Sunday lunch easily draws together multiple generations. Everyone brings a dish. The air quickly fills with passionate debates, roaring laughter, and people happily talking over one another. The table is rarely perfect, but it is the physical space where bonds are continuously reinforced. This profound sense of togetherness scales up to mark every major transition in life. The family stands at the center of every milestone. Baptisms, birthdays, weddings, graduations, and funerals. Take the quinceañera, for example. It is not just a party marking a girl's 15th birthday. It is an enormous collective project. Aunts help sew or select the dress. Uncles organize the music. Godparents contribute to the cost of the venue, and everyone cooks. A wedding, similarly, does not simply belong to the bride and groom. It is a communal event, an acknowledgement that the couple's future is now intertwined with the village or neighborhood that surrounds them. And then, there is Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Beyond the colorful face paint and elaborate parades that attract millions of tourists, the true heart of this tradition beats quietly inside the home. For Mexican families, this is the time when the living actively maintain their relationship with the dead. On a multi-tiered ofrenda in the living room, a family will carefully place framed photographs of lost relatives, surrounded by flickering candles, bright orange marigolds, and the favorite foods of those who have passed on. Small, personal items that recall a lifetime are laid out with absolute reverence. The message of this beautiful tradition is not that death is ignored or denied. The message is much more powerful. The dead continue to live on, as long as they are kept alive in the memories and the stories of the family. In Mexico, family traditions do more than preserve the past. They keep every generation connected to the next. Yet, it is important to view this beautiful culture with clarity, without overly romanticizing it. Mexico is changing rapidly, and the family is facing profound new challenges. Today, millions of young people are leaving their rural hometowns to study or work in massive urban centers. Decades of economic migration between Mexico and the United States have physically separated countless families, splitting them across a heavily fortified border. Long working hours, the rising cost of living, and the grueling pace of city life make it harder to maintain the large, traditional Sunday gatherings. Some families no longer live on the same street. Some grandparents now only see their grandchildren growing up through the glowing screen of a smartphone. Furthermore, the old expectations are shifting. Young women are increasingly seeking independence and pursuing careers. Couples are choosing to build new definitions of what a family looks like. Young people are actively trying to navigate the difficult balance between honoring the heavy responsibilities they owe to their relatives and the desire to live a life of their own design. Because we must acknowledge that family can also bring immense pressure. The weight of familial obligation can sometimes feel like a burden. The intense expectations surrounding marriage, the unspoken duty to care for aging parents, or the requirement to sacrifice personal ambition for the good of the group can create quiet resentments and deep conflicts. The Mexican family is not always perfect. In fact, precisely because it is so incredibly important, it can also be incredibly complex. But despite all these changes, the family is not disappearing. It is adapting. Workers far from home send remittances back to their parents every month, forming the backbone of entire local economies. Separated relatives maintain their bonds through daily, chaotic WhatsApp group chats. Aunts and grandmothers patiently teach recipes over video calls. Families split across borders make the long journey home for Christmas or special milestones. And children born far from their ancestral towns are still raised on stories of aunts, uncles, and grandparents they have yet to meet. Modern families may be smaller. They may be spread across different cities or different countries. They may look different than the generation that came before them. But the core, defining idea remains completely intact. No one should ever have to face life completely alone. The shape of the Mexican family is changing, but its purpose remains remarkably strong: to give people somewhere they belong. Evening falls over the quiet neighborhood, and we return to the house from the morning. Inside, the kitchen is warm. The grandmother places a tall stack of freshly heated tortillas wrapped in a cloth onto the center of the table. The father has returned from work, his hands washed. The children are talking much too loudly about their day at school. Just then, an aunt walks through the door, carrying a heavy pot of stew. Behind her, a cousin wanders in, casually pulling an extra chair from the next room. The table never seems quite wide enough. But somehow, by shifting plates and moving a little closer together, there is always room for one more person. Outside, the city continues to move. Young people will inevitably leave to chase their futures. Families will find themselves living further apart. Traditions will morph and shift with the passing of every new generation. But inside that house, a timeless value remains perfectly intact. Family is not just the place where Mexican people happen to be born. It is where stories are handed down, hardships are shared, the dead are remembered, and every person is reminded they never stand alone. Perhaps that is why family lies at the heart of Mexican culture. Because in Mexico, belonging is not something people search for alone. It is something a family builds together, one generation at a time.